Views is a team activity to assist with developing socially acceptable and morally responsible innovations. The aim of the game is to infer the value of the other players based on their emotional responses to an innovation. Once you have inferred the values of the other players, you can use this information to work together and design a more socially acceptable and morally responsible innovation. Values are general goals that people find important in their lives. Values will affect how people feel about innovations. Some innovations have characteristics that will support people's values, and other innovations have characteristics that will threaten people's values. In this game, we focus on 4 main values: altruistic, biospheric, egoistic, and hedonic. All of us usually endorse most of these values to some extent, but we differ in how we prioritize these values. People who prioritize hedonic values value their own personal pleasure and comfort. People who prioritize egoistic values value wealth, power, and achievement. People who value biospheric values value nature and the environment. And people who prioritize altruistic values value the well-being of other people. In this game, each player is going to be given a value profile card that shows which values they prioritize. These cards can prioritize 1 or 2 values. For example, the first card prioritizes biospheric values, and the second card prioritizes biospheric and altruistic values. Your role will be to think about these values and how they might shape how you're going to respond to an innovation. We've provided 6 innovation scenarios that you can choose from, and each of these scenarios has a specific scenario card and then a set of associated characteristics. The only way that players can communicate with the other players is by expressing emotions. We've provided 4 emotions: positive, negative, neutral, and mixed. And for each round, players will need to express one of these emotion cards to show how they feel about the innovation's characteristics. This emotion should reflect their value priorities. We've included wise decision cards, which are discussion cards that players use in the second part of the game when they are working together to try to improve the innovation. Lastly, we've provided stakeholder cards, which are an optional extra that can be included in the game. For example, players can be assigned a stakeholder role in addition to a value profile role. And when they're responding, they consider both their values and their role. To play the game, first set out the 4 value definition cards so that other players can refer to these during the game if they need to. Then hand each player a value profile card and optionally a stakeholder card. Here we have 3 players who have each received their value profile card and a stakeholder card. Choose a scenario and then start revealing the characteristics of the scenario. Each round, a characteristic is revealed, and then each of the players shows how they would respond emotionally to that characteristic based on their values. For example, player 1 has responded with a neutral emotion, player 2 also has responded with a neutral emotion, and player 3 has responded with a happy emotion. When providing your emotional response, each player can choose to just explain their emotion, such as "I feel happy about this characteristic," or they can provide a more elaborate response, perhaps including their stakeholder role. For example, they might say, "As a small business owner, I'm excited at the thought of paying less for electricity." There are 4 rounds, and each round a new characteristic is revealed, and each player responds with an emotion card. Pay attention to the cards that are being revealed by other players because you're trying to infer what each player's values are. After 4 rounds, each player should have 4 emotion cards in front of them. Have a look at the table. Are some people happier about the innovation than others? Why do you think this might be? At this point, we bring in the wise decision cards. Work through these discussion cards as a team and try to figure out if there's a way that you could improve the innovation to address the possible value conflicts that are being expressed on the table. For example, if there's a particular characteristic that multiple players are expressing negative emotions to, is there a way that this could be changed? Players could talk about this amongst themselves, or you could also get each player to write a specific way that they might change the innovation and then submit this on the table. After the wise decisions discussion phase, hopefully you should be able to revisit the emotions that everybody is expressing and have fewer negative emotions expressed on the table. Finally, for the last round, try to guess what everyone's values were. Work together as a team to guess what the values for each player are, and then each player can reveal these values. See how good you are at guessing what the other values are. Finally, there's one other way that you could play this game. You could also play it by not knowing your own values and instead holding up your value card to the other players. In this version of the game, all the other players would be choosing the emotion that they think you would respond when each characteristic is revealed. The aim of the game then is for you to guess what your own values are.